read to me the nameplate?
Judge Eboni K. Williams.
So the only thing that matters in this particular courtroom is how I see it. I am from North Carolina by way of Louisiana with some West Coast cool and a New York edge. Do we have a problem, ma'am?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Equal justice is all about the most important values of our country: freedom, integrity, and those are the things that I'm striving for. Ma'am, you run your household, this man gets to run his. I decided to become an attorney and pursue the law. I wanted to be a voice for the voiceless. This court cannot hold this woman accountable. People from all sectors of life, black, white, purple, gay, straight, queer, and that's what equal justice with Judge Eboni K. Williams is all about.
Recovering addict Victoria Barnes claims she missed work and went to detox after her sorority sister pushed her to eat psychedelic mushroom candy. Cynthia Carlson says she didn't force Miss Barnes to eat the sweet treat.
Ladies, I see I have Victoria Barnes here as my plaintiff and Cynthia Carlson as my defendant. Ms. Barnes, I see you are suing the defendant for $5,400. You claim negligence. What brings you to my courtroom today, ma'am?
Yes, Your Honor. Victoria and I have been friends for a long time. We rushed together in college. We are sorority sisters.
Okay.
Yes, we went to Georgia Tech in Atlanta.
Okay.
She was in the class above me, so she did end up becoming my big. And if you are not familiar with the sorority life, that is...
Oh, I'm very familiar.
You're familiar. Wonderful. It's a strong bond, and I was really lucky to have Cece at Miss Carlson as someone who I could look up to. Our last year of college, I unfortunately was in a car accident and had an injury to my back. I was given some pain medications, and I did become dependent on those. And my recovery was about 6 months. I was still in school, so I'm battling, graduation, our final year, senior year with events, sorority. There was a lot going on.
And ma'am, had you already graduated at this point since you were a year older?
At this point, yes, I had already graduated.
Okay, so you already graduated. You are in the midst of that graduation.
But we're still very close. She's supporting me as my big throughout all of this process. She knew everything about the car accident, really supported me, kind of watched that addiction get out of hand and was nothing but supportive. And ultimately, just with the drinking lifestyle that I was also having at college, I am a drinker.
Yeah.
I participated in sorority life, of course, but unfortunately my mother was an addict, and so it's something that I knew in my, bloodline.
Family history, yes. So there's a few elements that you're describing, Ms. Barnes. So A, you have a family history with this level of addiction, and we appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that with the court. Then there's typical college life, which many of us are familiar with. Heavy booze, heavy partying, we understand. Then the real compounding factor here sounds like this tragic car accident, which led to, sadly, an all too common pipeline that many of us have seen or know people who have struggled with, that starts off with prescription medications that are legitimately prescribed, that becomes off-label opioid addiction. We have to call it what it is. Okay. So what happened? Was there an intervention? How did you right this ship of addiction?
There was kind of less of an intervention, more of a rock bottom. I made the decision that I needed to go to rehab, and so that is where I went. And then beyond that, I have been clean and sober since then. I am an addict, I understand that.
Sure.
I had been recovered up until this incident in San Francisco.
Okay.
So
Talk
just
about
to
the
make that
timeline,
clear.
ma'am. So senior year, you go into rehabilitation. You become clean and sober. How long were you sober before this alleged incident?
I was sober for a good 3 years.
So 3 years of sobriety, and then what happened?
And then our sorority, which I am grateful for the sisterhood and that it continues to have events. My relationship with Cece just kind of naturally fell apart. We weren't as close anymore, kind of for about 2 years before this event. But it was happening in San Francisco. It was our whole sorority sisters getting together. A lot of people hadn't seen each other, different ages. And the event during the day was having sorority sanctioned events and celebrations. And then at night there would be after parties.
So this is like a reunion of some sort?
Yes, a reunion.
Okay.
And she had texted me beforehand, just kind of asked, saying, are you excited? And we hadn't talked in a while.
Well,
so
let
I
me get you in
appreciated
here,
her
Ms.
reaching out
Carlson.
to
So
us.
why don't you bring us up to speed? We understand, sounds like you were very supportive during her addictive phase. She recovered. You were aware of her sobriety, 3
Yes.
years.
Yeah.
Proud of her, I assume?
Yeah, we kind of fell out of touch, so we hadn't talked in a while. We had our sorority function coming up. It was just a little reunion that we were all going to San Francisco for.
Yes.
And at this reunion, we had sanctioned events, everything was planned, and then we had some after parties afterwards. And basically at this after party, we're all drinking, and I got us some mushroom chocolates. Now, I was offering it to everyone at the party, making sure everyone felt included, and Vicky did not take any of the mushrooms at the party, and so I was like, oh, hey, like, if you want to take any, they are really good for anxiety. They're good for that kind of stuff.
Coming up on Equal Justice.
After I have said no, that I do not want to take these mushrooms, they are continually offered to me.
Only by her.
Only by her.
If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. This is Equal Justice. Equal Justice is back with a case of Victoria Barnes, who brought Cynthia Carlson to court for negligence.
I was proud to admit that I'm very familiar with sorority life, but I'm going to make a confession. Culturally, my sorority life doesn't really do the mushroom thing. That's just a cultural distinction. No shade, no tea. But I would like to know more about it.
It's very much just something that people use to alleviate.
Is it a psychedelic? What is this?
It's a psychedelic.
It's a psychedelic.
So
Okay.
it's a little bit more than marijuana. You know,
Okay.
marijuana doesn't have the psychedelic element to it.
Right.
But it's very much like controlled and like people do it. So I
Okay.
got it from a dispensary.
Okay.
Brought it, and all the girls were talking about how they wanted to do it. A lot of us like used to do it in college.
Is it to like what is it? Is it a depressant? Is it a hallucinogen? What is the impact and effect?
Yeah, it depends how much you take. You can microdose on it.
Okay.
You can like hallucinate from it.
Okay.
It's more of just like, you know, going on a trip, like a mind trip.
Okay.
It's nothing too crazy.
And Your Honor, if I may, you can say it's not too crazy, but I mean, every brain is different, every mind is different, especially with something like psychedelics that's not as controlled as many drugs are. It's I don't know if it's fair to say that, you wake up and it's totally fine, because that was not my experience.
That was not your experience. Okay, one more question, Ms. Carlson. Are people drinking and doing the mushrooms
Yes.
together?
We've been drinking all night. I
Okay.
brought out the mushrooms at the after party.
Okay.
You know, we were just like
And so
having
you're
a fun little
passing them
nightcap.
around?
Yes, we're passing them
For
around.
free, or people paying you?
They're my sisters. Like, I'm giving them for free.
Okay,
Like,
so
you know.
generous. Okay, great. All right, so Ms. Barnes, this is your experience. You're at this party. You're at the after party.
Yes.
Had you been drinking?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so a part of your sobriety does afford you social drinking.
Yes.
But not drug use.
Correct.
Okay, so when you see the, what kind of chocolate?
Yeah, mushroom chocolates,
So, So is it like a chocolate square? Help me out.
Yeah, it's like a chocolate bar, and
Okay.
you know, like a weed chocolate bar where they just like bake the weed into it.
No, ma'am.
All right, you know.
Understandable.
You ain't gonna get me.
You just bake those mushrooms into the chocolate,
Okay.
and then it just has like the effects of.
And does one person typically take one square?
Yeah, just like a little square, depending on how much you want. Like
Okay.
sometimes people go a little crazy, but like, one square is like a microdose. 4 squares is probably like a trip, and so we all were doing like 2.
Okay. And how many did you do, and what was the condition in which you accepted them, ma'am?
Yes, Your Honor. So I was offered them at the party, to which I declined.
Okay, you said no.
I said no.
Okay.
I was then offered again multiple times
By her?
by CC.
Okay.
And whether that is due to being a little inebriated, I do think when your sister says no, you should get the picture, especially somebody in my situation.
When you say your situation, you mean in recovery?
Yes.
Okay.
Your Honor, do you mind if I say she was very much having a good time drinking at the party, enjoying all of the things. I actually have a text message from her saying that she was ready to let loose this weekend.
Elijah, can you please confiscate the evidence from the whole folder? Thank you, ma'am. Okay. All right, let's look at the text message. So I'm seeing a text message between the two of you. Hey, girl, what are you ready for this weekend or what? I was born ready. San Francisco ain't ready for us. I'm going to leave my mark, paint my name on the damn bridge. I know that's right. There's the Vicky I remember from college. Okay, you two were fired up and ready to go. This weekend, I'm not a day over 22. This is what you say, ma'am. All I want to do is let my hair down, shake a little, and be a college girl again. Preach, sister. I'll be right there next to you. ATL. Okay, so this was the pregame, essentially.
Yes, yeah.
And you guys both seem to be on the same page
Yes,
that
Your
this was going to be a bang-up good time.
Yes.
Okay, so Ms. Barnes, this does look like you were signing up for a big party.
Yes. And there is no, I'm not denying that.
Right.
What I'm denying is, what I'm here for is that after I have said no, that I do not want to take these mushrooms, they are continually offered to me.
Only by her?
Only by her.
Okay.
I'm kind of,
I'm having a
handing
fantastic
everything
time
out just because I usually
at
am
the
like
party.
the person who is, making sure everyone's having a good time.
I understand that, but when she did say she wasn't interested, because she
Yes.
did say that, you're
So,
admitting.
Yes, I do admit I sometimes would accidentally circle around back to someone I've already asked.
Well,
I just wanted to make sure everyone had hey, did you get some mushrooms? Did you get some mushrooms?
Okay, now that's two different things you're telling me, because one is accidentally, the other sounds more persistent. So was this a choice, and this is very important to my ruling, ma'am, so I need you to be honest. Were you trying to make sure that you didn't miss her, or were you trying to persistently offer her to increase her intoxication for the evening?
No, I was just making sure that she was having a good time and she was offered the same things everyone else was offered. If I accidentally went around a few times and asked her again, I just wanted to make sure that she didn't want them. And that's why I asked multiple times.
So that's what she's saying. Is that your experience? Because she's saying
That's not my experience.
That's not your experience.
Because then why, if you're just making sure that I haven't missed up, when I then am so uncomfortable that I am going to leave the party.
Oh,
because
really?
now people are doing shrooms. We were supposed to go back together. We were going to ride back in the Uber together because our rooms were next door.
Right.
I just, the vibe was off for me. I was no longer having fun
Did
after
you
this.
know that people would likely be participating in the drug use after the after party?
I do think that she had planned and wanted to do shrooms. She mentioned in a group chat with some of her other friends.
Do you have evidence of that?
I do not have evidence of that.
Coming up on Equal Justice.
Because you're on mushrooms at this point, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so she's tipsy and on mushrooms. You're just tipsy, and then she gives you mushrooms for the road.
This is Equal Justice. Equal Justice is back with a case of Victoria Barnes, who brought Cynthia Carlson to court for negligence.
Do you have any evidence for the court?
I do have evidence for the
Okay,
court.
give their folder, please, to Elijah so I can
Of
see. I hope
course.
some of this is going to be some invoices or medical expenses to
Yes.
justify this
It's
$5,400.
everything, and I will get to all of this.
Well,
This
let's get
is-
to it.
So,
So I'm looking at a bill here, an invoice that you paid, Ms. Barnes. Looks like none of this was covered by insurance. So you were out of pocket $2,500.
and it was out of state too. It was in San Francisco. So that night, I tell her that I'm leaving. I'm so uncomfortable. She says, take these shrooms with you for the road.
I said, have you done any of the shrooms yet? I'm intoxicated. I forget that I've asked her already and she says no. I say, oh, it's okay. You're on your way home. Take some for the road, if you want to do it.
Let me slow you down. When she says, I'm on my way home, were you clocking and understanding, Ms. Carlson, that she's leaving because she's uncomfortable, or did you think she was just
I thought she was just heading out. I thought she was just done with the
So
night.
miscommunication here, no problem.
But what about the fact that we were meant to take an Uber home together, and then now I'm saying, you find your way home, I'm taking an Uber. That's not communicating at all that there's some kind of change in the plan.
I can't go into her mind, especially given that at this point you're both admitting to the court openly that there was some intoxication going on before the mushrooms even entered this, because you're on mushrooms at this point, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so she's tipsy and on mushrooms. You're just tipsy, and then she gives you mushrooms for the road. And you accept them?
I do accept
Why?
them.
Why, ma'am?
If you have ever experienced addiction, if you have experienced someone in your life who has experienced addiction,
Okay, yes.
there becomes a barrier of trusting yourself. You do not trust the thoughts that are coming up because you don't know if they're going to lead you back to the darkest place that you've ever been.
Coming up on Equal Justice.
Just the fact that she knows my mindset, and you don't know how these drugs are going to react. It wasn't even in a safe environment.
This is Equal Justice. Equal Justice is back with a case of Victoria Barnes, who brought Cynthia Carlson to court for negligence.
I want to stay on the invoice piece.
course.
I do see It looks like you paid $1,100 for some insurance coverage.
Yes. So
Okay.
it was. I had lost wages at work because I stayed for a whole extra week in San Francisco to go through the detoxing.
And then it looks like you also had some supplemental therapy.
Yes, while I was back home to sort of get me back into the groove of everything, starting back on work again.
Okay. I guess I want to just kind of wrap up here where you think this woman should be held legally responsible for your relapse.
I believe that there was negligence in bringing out a psychedelic drug, especially just the fact that she knows my mindset. And you don't know how these drugs are going to react. It wasn't even in a safe environment. If it had been her and I in a room and she was like, I'm gonna make sure you're okay, I've done this before, I've got water, all of these things, that could have been an experience.
Your Honor,
but what I was left with was being alone in a city that I've never been to, that I don't live in, completely out of my mind and re-experiencing the darkest moments of my life. And she knows all of these.
All right, ladies, I have heard enough to make a ruling. This friendship, this sorority, sisterhood is severed, I take it?
Yes.
Okay. Indefinitely?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess
Well,
so.
the court is none too pleased to hear that, but sometimes this is how these things go. Now, as it relates to this legal matter here, you are claiming negligence. You are wanting this court to find that this defendant willfully and wantonly breached a duty of care to you. You're compelling an argument that says that she knew or should have known your fragile emotional state due to your history of addiction, and she should have acted better.
Judge Eboni's verdict when equal justice returns. This is Equal Justice.
Let me tell you where the court has a problem, Ms. Barnes, and I do want to be very clear. The court commends you deeply for your sobriety and coming back from relapse. Everybody's not able to do it. So I applaud you. I do. But one of the things that you should have learned in your rehab stint and in your subsequent therapy, which I'm glad you availed yourself to, is that there is one person and one person alone that is responsible for your sobriety, ma'am, and her name is Victoria Barnes. Her name is not Cynthia Carlson. Now, that said, Ms. Carlson, for those of us that are in proximity and relationship to recovering addicts, we want to be considerate of that, right? We want to be mindful of that. Do I think it was just great behavior to continue to offer over and over and over again a psychedelic drug to a recovering addict? No, I don't. But do I think it met a standard of breach that justifies negligence according to the letter of the law? I do not. Therefore, I rule in favor of the defendant, and the plaintiff's claim for $5,400 is dismissed. That's my ruling.
All rise.
Judge Eboni has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim is dismissed.
$5,000 means nothing to you, but I'll be struggling and I'll be on my own and I won't let you know any of that, so.
You know, there comes a time in your life that you have to realize that you're responsible for your own decisions and you can't keep blaming everyone else for your
I've
mistakes.
been doing that since
Okay,
I was
you've
20.
had your day in court. Please grab your belongings.
This has been a production of Allen Media Group.